Right then, so we're all good for tonight's recording on the subject of AI, yeah?
Got all managed right here, buddy.
Excellent. I mean, I'm really glad we don't use AI in our pod. Hang on, do you not notice anything wrong here?
Yeah, give me a sec. Let me try and fix that. Dan, cheers for sorting the voices out, but something still doesn't feel right. Are you sure about this?
Don't worry, no one's going to notice, mate. We can style it out.
Dan with a gaming flair, pixel dreams and worlds to share, joystick tales and button cues. Welcome to Gaming Views.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Gaming Views, where I'm joined as always by the 100% original, nothing AI about him, all talent, all beautiful person, Dan H. Hiya, Dan. How you doing?
Oh, if it wasn't for the lies, you know I'm partially AI generated.
No,
How do you think
no.
I've got many more wrinkles than this, Dan.
Oh, don't. Aging. When AI can sort out the aging process. Well,
It does. It just removes my sound
does.
effects. Everything I do comes with a sound effect now. Standing up, sitting down, bending over, walking upstairs.
It's the 20 years younger filter when Riverside can introduce that. Riverside talking to you.
I think my camera has it. I can do AI
does it?
smoothing on my camera. Yeah, I'm not going to do it now.
Well, people
it
don't
just
realise you're
makes
actually
you look-
70. Yeah.
God, yeah. I could try and do that. I'm not sure how good it would look.
But yeah, how are you doing though? Anyway, you all right?
I'm really good. Yeah, I'm happy you're back after some time away, and we did last week's episode. Feels like we're back in the swing of it, doing a weekly recording. I'm enjoying it. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Research, editing. Don't like the editing, but
Research, that's using that loosely there for me.
Sorry, yeah,
anyway, no, for me. But I was going to say, subscribe to us, housekeeping, YouTube, Spotify, platform of your choice. Please subscribe, as Dan keeps saying, might not take a lot of effort from your part, but it means a hell of a lot to us.
it does.
And on that, you mentioned the sort of last episode. So I just want to say, I'm looking at the episode you did with Joey. That generated a bit of a buzz online on Twitter, especially. On TikTok, especially. But I just wanted to, because I did say, we'd shout out a couple of things. Just firstly, on YouTube, we had a couple of comments from a friend of mine, Pete and Frosty. So thank you both. Pete's comments were, and I've been speaking to him. I think I said to you when we went on the train to work the other day, I've been talking to him for about a week, and I think I've convinced him to get the Steam machine. So Valve, if you want to sponsor us and or any commission, please do.
Nobody should need convincing to get a Steam machine done.
Well, it's funny.
Like
I mean,
the Wii, just appear under your telly. It was really fine.
I'm sure he won't mind me saying, but I think he was very much in a similar position to me, that has always been a console gamer, doesn't have a PC sort of library, is probably a bit wary of building out. But I said to him, look, with how cheap you get deals in these bundles and the fact that it's going to be like a console, I know that's shouldn't say that because it's not a console in the sense of you're not going to be there upgrading it all the time and having to keep an eye on it. That's what I mean. It's going to be for those of us who aren't that way inclined, it's going to be more of a plug and play PC.
Yeah,
I think
it's a console-like PC. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, and I think he's really into it. But it was there was one particular video or clip you put on TikTok which generated a hell of a lot of contact, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit. It was just a random conversation Joe and I were having about my history with Steam and how I'd kind of accelerated over 18 months from going from practically no games apart from Half-Life to like 80 or so, I think it's something like that. And yeah, there was a lot of conversation. Well, it generated nearly 13,000 views of people and lots of comments, which was a lovely thing. I don't care about views, but the interaction was beautiful, and there were lots of people. And it was genuine, lovely conversation. It wasn't arseholes, which is nice. And it was just kind of about, there was a bit of debate around, you're going to buy these games and you're not going to play them, or you're going to have them. And there's a fair point, but they're there and I have them. And if I've got some downtime and decide I want to play something a bit different that I haven't played before, I'll pick up and play it, So yeah, just really grateful to everyone for kind of interacting and jumping on and having a chat with us.
Yeah, so just gonna just call out some. So on that particular clip, yeah, we had Solar Pill, Phoebe Louise, Radinho 23, who said your game numbers were noob numbers, but I said, but we've got to start somewhere, right?
That's fair.
Six Soccer, say that right. Yeah, Fuzzy, Jade XC, Funky Monkey, Matty, yeah, Daniel Sherlock, Aaron, yeah, Danny Jackson. Yeah, we had so many people. So yeah, if you see our videos on TikTok and they sort of strike a chord with you, either positively or negatively, let us know. We prefer the positive, but you know, we'll also answer to the negative. So, you know, sometimes. Yeah, but no, it's like I said, it's just brilliant. I love it when, you know, that the reason we do this, one is because obviously we love having a chat with each other, but the one thing is I mean, it's in the title, isn't it? Gaming Views, and whatever we think of something, whether we agree or disagree, there's going to be 50, 100 people out there, obviously a lot more, that are going to disagree with with us, whatever we say. So, you know, because they've got their own views. So, and that's what I love about this subject, is heated, and as, you know, we don't like the gaming sort of, the console wars, etc., have had a bit of toxicity in the past, but when it's genuine views and a debate about views, it's a perfect thing, isn't it?
Yeah, clues in the name, right? Gaming Views. Right, everyone's got one. A lot of arseholes, but you know, not everyone is one. But you know, they can, you know, and that's what we want to hear. We want to open the debate and the topics and the conversations that we have. We want people to get talking about it and enjoy listening to us debate some of the stuff. Because, like you say, we're not always going to agree on stuff, but we are of a similar age, Dan. So maybe agree more than we disagree.
Well, that's it. Well, we come through that same generation, but
We did.
But basically, bottom line is, look, thank you for those who interacted, and yeah, we look forward to seeing a lot more of it. So,
100%.
First question, as always, Dan, what you been playing?
So you,
what haven't you been playing? It feels like
no. I've been a bit more. I've been a little bit more sensible. I've been playing plenty more of Hades 2. Got really sucked into that world, and finally got through to. Sorry, I think I said I'd got through to Kronos and died an equal number of times. I actually got through, and now I can kind of end to end it without blinking now, you know, so that's been a joy. But then I think I messaged you and said I realized I missed an entire mechanic. So one of the mechanics is incantations, which is to build up certain buffs and also certain things around your kind of base area that you can add on. I hadn't realized that if you click the right bumper, you can also then go into recipes, and you have to brew certain recipes to unlock certain incantations. So while I wasn't able to unlock an incantation, I was like, why can't I go down this path? I just don't understand it. And let me just check on, okay, now I understand why I've been doing it wrong. So as soon as they did that, the other path has now opened, and I've completed the incantation that allows you to continue in that world. So I've got a whole another section that I'm going to start on in it. So Next week, when you ask me what I've been playing, I'll have been playing Hades 2 still. So there was that. I am about 6 episodes into Dispatch, which is just fucking phenomenal. I love that game. And I have a confession. I never really clicked with The Walking Dead, and the only Telltale game I really enjoyed was Batman, when they did the Batman series.
Yeah.
I didn't like Werewolf by Night or any of not Werewolf by Night. Is it Werewolf by Night? Might have been.
No, it was that Fable, The Wolf Among Us.
Wolf Among Us, sorry. So, yes, Werewolf by Night. So, it's a Marvel short and a comic. I didn't really click with any of those, and this is the first one that's really grabbed me. I did play the first couple of seasons of Walking Dead, but I just didn't. It just felt like, But then I was a bit over zombies by then. Dispatch is a whole nother level, and the animation and the artwork, and it's just amazing. And I know you finished it.
Yeah.
And I will come and burn your house down if you spoil it for me. No spoilers. I just want to say something. Something I said actually to Joey a couple of nights ago. So yeah, I finished it. I've still sort of got this bug. I'm still not feeling great. So I had a bit of time over the weekend, and I think I just hammered it. And it's phenomenal. It's such a good game. But what I said is, and I've been thinking about how I want to make sure I phrase this, because this isn't a criticism, but I almost think I'd have preferred it to not be a game. Okay.
In the sense of, it feels like it's less of a game than some of the other Telltale stuff, and even like the Don't Nod things. But what I'm trying to say is, it feels like it was, you could, I said to you, it could be like an 8-part
all day long.
series, or
Yeah.
even like a couple of, like an extended film. And it feels like it was made like that. And then they've put a couple of the gameplay elements. And I'd be just as happy sitting back and watching it, because it's just, for me, it's just a phenomenal piece of media. And
I agree with one exception, and that is the joy of it being built the way it is I get to play it all over again and choose different outcomes.
Yeah.
And that, I can't do that with a movie. So I totally understand what you're saying, but for me, I can play it 2-3 times and have a different experience, and that'll be a joy, because I'm loving it.
I'm not going to say anything, obviously, because I know you haven't finished it. So when you have, we'll have the conversation. But the thing I noticed, especially with like the later episodes, and I know you've been to that bit, so like you've done the housewarming bit, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah.
There are so many things that happen. I want to play it again. Yeah, I want to play it again, because there are so
good.
There are so many things that happen in the background that you don't pick up on, and it's just that. And when I start picking those
the
up,
bar fight is the same. So the interplay between the conversation they're having post bar fight and the interaction that happens during the bar fight, and little things that happen. and Punch Up's comment was just like, punch so many dicks. And he's like, did you wash your hands? And he's eating his taco. It's just amazing. It's so good.
And there's a bit, I don't know, depending on options, I don't know, but your character has kind of like a running feud with that Flambe, which is a brilliant name, by the way. I love that.
El Flambe.
Where he's singing karaoke, Flambe's singing karaoke, and he's just basically
about your character,
having a go at you. Yeah, so it's that song, I can't remember, I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a whatever. And he's just basically talking about your character's sexual prowess and stuff.
It is. It's like, so well done. And there's only one other game I've been laughing so hard at recently, and that's my next played game is Deadpool VR.
But just say, I agree with you. Like Dispatch, if you've not played it, it's just it is a film. It is an animated sort of series. It's the animation is brilliant. I love the voice acting. I think each character is voiced so well,
so well, and the little glances and the little ticks and twitches and just the way it's been built. It's just so beautifully put together. And I would go as far as saying it's the best 20 quid you'll ever spend.
Yeah.
Joey.
And do you know what? I'm gutted. I'm gutted. But I was looking at it that I didn't initially pick up the sort of like the special edition of it, but I might actually upgrade it, because you
with
get
the soundtrack
like
and the
comics and the
digital
art book. Yeah. I'm tempted.
Digital book.
Digital, yeah.
Steam, mate. Steam.
Yeah,
Go check out the last episode of Steam.
Well, I think it's like £9.
Yeah, it should be on top of it, yeah.
But it should, Anyway, sorry, we digress. So what's next?
So next was I played some more of Deadpool VR. And the problem with laughing so much at Deadpool VR is VR sits very specifically, and I have cheeks that that it just keeps moving. So it kind of takes me out of the game. That was a weird thing to do on visual. Yeah. So I keep laughing so much that I'm about halfway through I guess you'd call it the third level. It's quite weird how it's done. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that the whole game is based on Deadpool capturing characters from across the Marvel universe for Mojo, who is a intergalactic TV producer, part of the X-Men franchise to look at. And he's getting his captain to bring them into his game. And between each longer section of game, you have to play the game on Mojo World. Right, so you do so it's a nice way to cut the game up, to be honest. So you play 3 rounds. The first round is you playing with another version of you. So I think this one I played with Lady Deadpool, and you're basically playing a game of, you basically got to get a ball and throw it from certain zones through a hoop. But you also got weapons, and you're also fighting against people to,
Quidditch. Is that Quidditch?
Yeah, but not on broomsticks. But there are pickups and drops around the arena there's basically an arena battle mode. And then there's another one at the end that has you dropped into a mech suit.
Right.
And you're basically running around in a Deadpool mech suit trying to blow people up, and they're trying to kill you, and you have to kill 10 in a row to win. And the middle one, which is very funny, is you get head pull, which is, for those of you who don't know, just Deadpool's head, a zombified head, and you're running around trying to eat chimichangas while being chased with people who are trying to murder you, which is quite funny as well. So it's a nice little intersection between the different levels. And now I'm on I guess it's the third level, which is you are in Vegas at the Hotel Inferno trying to capture Mephisto.
Right.
And there's just a brilliant scene where you're given you're given a coin to get a drink at a bar, and you go and sit down, you're talking to the bartender, and the bartender's chatting away with you, and I'm like, I know that voice. I know that guy. And it's Nathan Fillion from Firefly.
Of course it is.
He's the bartender. And I'm like, of course that's who it is. And then you're sort of kind of sitting there, and he wanders off to do something. I'm like, I can't get up out of my seat. What's going on? And you look over to the right, and Johnny Blaze, Ghostwriter, is sitting next to you, like morosely having a drink, chatting to you. So you start, shit talking him, and then he turns into Ghostwriter and does some stuff. I won't spoil it, but it's just brilliant. There's characters from all across the Marvel-verse. There's all these, and the humour hasn't let up. It's brilliant. Mephisto's a brilliantly acted character, voiced by the guy who plays Flash's mentor in the series. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's brilliant as well. There's some really famous people in it. So yeah, having a lot of fun with that. I need to go back and play some more and finish that off, because I've really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Nice.
And then I have got two more, but they're very short. So we've picked up a game to review each, Static Dread. I'm currently playing on PlayStation 5, and I think you're playing on the Xbox. Well, I'll leave it for the review. But yeah, so we've been playing Static Dread.
It's odd, isn't
we'll
it?
do.
All I will say is it is Papers, Please, but in a lighthouse, isn't it? It's
Yes, I'm getting that feeling, although I'm not getting that hook. Yeah, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, we'll save it, but I think we're on the same length.
Let's save it for we'll do a dissection together, and we'll work it out. And then the last one I'll be saying, because I am a man of my word, and I did say last episode, all the fraud around Exposition 33, Clair, Obscur, whatever you want to call it, I said I owed it to the pod and people who've been championing it to go and play it. I love that you picked it
up again.
I went back and I've started playing, and I haven't got hugely far. I think I'm at the end of Act 1 on the, I can't remember what the beach area is called, but you basically go through, I've met big balloon guy.
SGA.
I've met SGA, and my other character has joined the team. So I've done that bit and got through, and I'm at the end of that bit of area. I'm just going through, I think, to, I assume it's a final level boss or something, but I'm just going through to the end of that area. I'm really enjoying it. I am really enjoying it.
Things I want to say, but I can't.
No, I know. It's not. It is a game I will keep going back to and see how far I get. I'm still in that place where I'm not as hooked as I hoped I'd be. I think I had a lot of expectation about what people have said about it and how, and given I'd only given it 30 minutes beforehand, I've stuck maybe 3 or 4 hours into it, I guess, to get to this point now. And I am enjoying it. There's some frustrations around some of the counters, and I don't know if some of it is, those guys who dip their sword in blood, they basically stab themselves and do a big swipe 3 times. Yeah. I can counter those first 2 swipes. Not a problem. Never getting hit with them. Like, every time I parry them. The third one, I've tried everything. I cannot parry it. And I don't know if I'm just supposed to dodge that one or it's parryable and I'm just a muppet.
I'll tell you what, you wait until they introduce more like dodge and parry types later on.
Yeah. With the jumps and the things and so I'll give it issue. It is a beautiful game. I am enjoying it. It's a little bit frustrating. I'm actually quite enjoying the combat as well, weirdly, because I've said before, I'm not a massive JRPG turn-based combat fan, but actually I quite enjoy it.
It's odd because whilst it's a turn-based combat game, it doesn't feel like a traditional JRPG. It's almost like a mix. It feels like between like an Elder Scrolls, what I want to say is like that Western RPG with the kind of JRPG ingredients in it. But what I'll say is I think there's a couple of story beats, and I can't say anything. I think once you hit those, I think that's either going to decide whether it's going to hook you in more and you'll overlook some of the things that you're having a frustration with or not, because honestly, it's the story that carried it through for me. Okay.
All right. So as long as I don't need to be an expert parry or dodger, I think I'll be fine, because that's been my downfall in many a Souls game.
No, I mean, I didn't complete all the optional bosses, etc. I just wanted to complete the game, and I think I ended up, there are some enemies where parry's easy, and the parry is the best one because you get some really powerful counter attacks. Yeah. But if you can dodge it, it might make the battle last a bit longer. But if you can build up your party enough to sort of like survive some things. But no, I really like the fact you picked it up, and it's funny because Joey has also started playing it again.
Okay,
he's much closer to the end, but again, it's frustrating because he was saying things to me, but I can't say anything. So can you all just finish games, please?
Yeah, but mine's are dicks.
Yeah, no, it's a nice little collection or selection, eclectic mix of games.
It's not been bad. And then I'm just before I just installed Marvel Cosmic Invasion on the ROG. So
is that out now?
It came out today, so I'm going to be playing some of that. But what about you, Mr. P? What you been playing? What you been up to?
So we've said Static Dread, Dispatch, which again I'll just say is a wonderful bit of media and entertainment. I'll definitely be playing that again because I'm annoyed. I think I got as good an ending as I can get, but I'd like to replay it to change one option. And I think because I wasn't paying attention and there was an option came up on the screen, it defaults a selection, doesn't it?
If you don't select in time,
it will choose an option.
It will choose one for you. I
think it I'm not going to say ruined, but it negated something I was doing throughout the game. So I won't say anything till you finish. So played those two. Completed Spider-Man as well, finally. And I say that sounds like a bad thing, but no, I'm pleased that, really good game. I focused on the story. Yeah, another great little game. I'm going to give it a bit of time before I jump into Miles Morales because I think, just like God of War, I think I'm Spider-Man'd out at the moment. Yeah. But again, I've talked about it a few weeks. Just a fun game.
I think Miles Morales is slightly shorter as well because it's a kind of intersection between 1 and 2. It's still great. Really good game. Yeah, really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Another game I've been playing for an upcoming review is called Phantom Squad. So it's like a top-down, I want to say it's like a top-down, almost like Rainbow Siege. It's like a tactical shooter.
Okay.
But the one, a spoiler here, it's bloody hard. I mean, I haven't got off the first level yet. And I think it's, I can see now, I've seen some reviews, it's geared, you can play up to 4 player, you can play it solo. Right. I honestly don't think it's advised to be played solo. I think you need a couple. But I'm determined.
It's Call of Duty Black Ops 7 campaign. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, well, yeah, actually, I haven't even gone near that. But yeah, it's just rock hard. Look, again, spoiler, I'm having fun with it, but I just can't get off that damn first level. So keep an eye out for my review.
Is it a Dark Souls-like tactical shooter then?
Yeah, I think it is. Oh, and the final one, I started I started yesterday, actually, as we're recording, is Silent Hill 2 Remake.
Yes. Yeah, I played that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where have you got to?
So I'm still quite early on. I've done the first section. I've got into the Woodside apartment. So I've just literally done the first street. Yeah, I just had a great time just smashing all the windows.
Yeah. I didn't realise you could do that until I started doing it. I was like, I can nick stuff out of here as well, and cars. How fantastic. So I just turned into a chavvy hooligan and then went into the Woodside apartments and went, I don't know what I'm doing now.
Well, that's where I got to. What I realised, though, is I really don't remember much about the original. So when I eventually complete this, I want to have a look at what the original was like because I don't know how much of it they've changed. Now, there's a couple of set pieces I remember from the original.
Okay.
But yeah, I realise I clearly don't remember that much about it.
I'll lend you my portal and it's attached to my account so you can stream the original and play.
I'd love to do that, a bit scared. But I think I've got the original on the Xbox. It was the HD version, which wasn't as good. Okay. But so a bit of another kind
of eclectic mix. Yeah. But now you're going to have to choose what you can do because Silent Hill 2 is not going to keep you going for that long. You're going to give up on Phantom Squad because it's hard. And I'm not going to talk about Static Dread, so you're going to have to think about what you want to be playing after that, mate.
Well, there's one or two options. I need to play Outer Worlds 2.
You do.
So that's on the list.
Conversation about Outer Worlds 2.
Yeah, and then it will probably be something else on the Steam Deck. So I need to start getting through the Steam games now. So
yeah, fair point. Yeah.
So all right. So that's what we've been playing. And again, if you're watching or listening, drop us a comment or anything across the socials about what you've been playing. It's good to know what you're talking about. Good to know what you're playing.
Don't tell us what you're talking about. I'm having fish fingers for tea.
I want to know what we're talking about. Well, you probably want to know what we're talking about, but we're not getting there yet. So we'll do some news stories. I've got quite a lot, but I've grouped them into 2 sections because the second section will make sense.
Perfect.
There's one I missed off here, Dan, and I want to talk about it. So realise me and you on remembering it. But there was a story that, and again, it kind of links into the Steam episode you did, and you know, your episode. You and Joe did a fantastic job. You talk about how it's probably the digital storefront now. There was the story about the Italian developers. Did you see that?
I did. Yeah. Horses.
Is it Santa Ragione? I think they've done a few horror games, and they've done.
You should get an Italian person to pronounce that, mate.
Santa Ragione. I think that's them. And their game called Horses, which has effectively been banned. You know, the news report was saying that this effectively could close them because if you're not on Steam, you're shutting off a whole.
I think it has. I think they've started shuttering. Is what I read post that earlier this week.
I know it's been picked up by GOG, Good Old Games.
Yeah, there are a couple of storefronts it's going to be available on, but given that Steam has 95% of the market or whatever.
But and it's interesting because I also had a conversation with Joey, and I think the funny thing about that was I think we were saying the same thing but different ways to each other. But it's like, so it was initially banned, so they submitted an early draft of the game, and it's very weird. I've not played any of their games, but it's like it's like a disturbing horror game where I think you play someone who goes to work on a farm for the summer for 2 weeks, and you're doing tasks that get more sort of horrified or disturbing, horrific. Yeah. But thank you for my brain not braining.
The drugs, Dad.
Yeah.
You me last week.
I swear it was paracetamol. And then it turns out, and I think it's interspersed with like sort of FMV, like video footage.
Yeah, like vignettes and things,
Yeah, and it's like the horses are naked people wearing horse masks. And I think what happened was early on in the development, there was one scene where this person is on their hands and knees as a horse with a mask, and there was a kid on the back.
Yeah, it was a minor,
so that, and look, and the developers said, and I want to stress here, the developers said it wasn't anything sort of untoward, there wasn't anything of a sexual nature in it, but it clearly hit Steam's sort of things for banning it. The developers then said whether it was that or not, they've then changed it to make it a person of like in their 20s, but I think their issue is that Steam, I think, haven't re-reviewed it. And look, right, Steam can do what they want, and they are trying to do the right thing, and if they've got a clear sort of terms of service, but I guess what I'm saying is, and look, and they wouldn't just ban any sort of like fun little cutie game, cozy game, I guess, but I guess that shows the other side of what we're talking about with Steam, is that they potentially can make or break a game if it's not on there, right?
Yeah, completely. It'd only be fair to say Steam did come back with a reply on it, and I think it was on Eurogamer, and I haven't got my notes up, sorry. So yeah, it'd be interesting to read through what their response was to it. But yeah, look, I think it's a very complex and difficult line to walk when you're involving kids and naked adults, particularly, right? And we are and should be very sensitive to things like that. I think there is also the question of the review process that says, well, actually, if you're gonna put something in for review with a company, clearly they have a right to determine what is good and proper on their platform. But some of the shit I've seen on Steam, quite honestly, I mean, certainly last year, you'd argue that, you know, maybe this resubmission wasn't as bad as some of that. So how are other people getting away with it? I don't know. I think the other thing we don't know as well is this is clearly one side of the story, and they haven't, you know, although Steam have put out a reply, we don't know what that relationship has been like or how that whole conversation has happened. Right, because there's a lot about these things. It's never just a clear-cut process of someone going, can I have this? No, you can't. Change that. Oh, I've changed it. Can I have it? No, you can't. There's going to be a back and forth. There's going to be a breakdown in communication or relationship or something that's happened. You know, they could get pissed off at Steam and get into an argument. All of these things can snowball that we're not going to find about, because when people particularly if their company's at risk, that, you know, there's going to be frustrations come into place. I think there's a whole lot to unpack. And like with a lot of these things, you never get to know the full story. Absolutely a huge shame if this company is looking at going under. I don't know how much this company was expecting to make to the point where it's going to shut studios. I mean, the game's retailing for like £5 or something. It's not a, you know, it's not a huge retail, you know. So I genuinely don't know. But yeah, if they've resubmitted it and made the changes that were required, I find it difficult to understand why Steam would still ban it.
Sort of the final line, and you're right in terms of being able to do the context. So I've got it here. So firstly, again, just to reiterate, the studio is saying that the game is not pornographic or intended to arouse, but they've said basically that they believe that Steam are refusing to re-review it. Now, the statement from Valve here is, we reviewed the game back in 2023. At that time, the developer indicated with their release date in Steamworks that they planned to release a few months later. Based on content in the store page, we told the developer we would need to review the build itself. This happens sometimes if content on the store page causes concern that the game itself might not fall within our guidelines. After our team played through the build and reviewed the content, we gave the developer feedback about why we couldn't ship the game on Steam consistent with our onboarding rules and guidelines. A short while later, the developer asked us to reconsider the review, and our internal content review team discussed that extensively and communicated to the developer our final decision that we were not going to ship the game on Steam. So, you know, like I said, it's their storefront and their rules. So, you know, I think it'll watch its space. Like I said, it'd be a shame. Yeah, because like I said, it is a $5, but it's going to be on Epic, Good Old Games, the Humble Store, and itch.io.
Yeah, Good Old Games' response was interesting. They basically came back and said players should be able to choose the experience that speaks to them.
Yeah.
Which, I've said it before, anyone the size and scale of someone like Steam or any of the digital distribution platforms have a duty of care to be conscious of who's going to be viewing, downloading and playing this stuff. And I'm not saying this is horses, but certainly some of the content that's on there. So they have to have these things in place, you know, and as a dad, you know, knowing that my kids could pick up and do anything, and I'm quite strict with what I allow them to see and the content that they view, because at the end of the day, they're young kids and they're impressionable, you know, 11 and 12. I was at that age. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I don't think it is as simple as saying, oh, you just be able to do what you want.
No, but there is sexual content games on there, so it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. I think, you know, we'll keep an eye on it. You know, Good Old Games really are trying to be the bastion of freedom for gaming.
Yes, they are. Yeah,
I think there was a few months back, I remember seeing it on Twitter that there were some games that were being delisted from Steam, I think, and potentially other storefronts. Now, I think the backstory to that was that it was the credit card companies were saying they wouldn't accept payments for that. So I think at the time what GOG did was made them, so I think it's adult content and violent. I think Postal or Postal 2 was in there. I think they released them for free for 48 hours. Now, you know, some might say, is that the right thing or not? Well, yeah, or if it's the right thing or not. But ultimately, you know, it's sort of it's interesting to see this battle between the providers. But sorry, moving on, because I'm keeping an eye on the time. Follow up to a story you brought to the table a few weeks ago. So it was Saudi Arabia's investment, you know, in or takeover of EA. So there's a story, I don't know if you've got it to hand, but yeah, Saudi Arabia's investment fund reportedly low on cash.
Running out of money, aren't they?
Yeah, and limiting investment following EA acquisitions. So yeah.
Sometimes you hedge the wrong bets, and that's not a joke. Yeah, I mean, you want to spend a bunch of money on a, you know, notoriously stable production houses, software houses are, you know, none of them ever go under or get canned. You know, I mean, you can assume EA was a safe bet from their perspective, right? Given their sports catalogue and everything else, but that's a lot of money to spend. I mean, they bought it part funded by the company they were buying it from. So they used a bucket of money from EA to part fund the purchase anyway, as a loan. So it was always going to be a bit of a dodgy one. I guess they couldn't get the AI in there fast enough, Dan. That was, couldn't make those cuts quick enough.
Well, where's
my AI slop Mass Effect, please?
Oh no, don't say that, please. I mean, This is it. The New York Times ran a report. So they said basically projects in financial distress include Neom, the planned utopia metropolis that's run into construction
This
issues.
is their big long wall. It's Game of Thrones in the desert. That's what that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
With a city in it.
Yeah, a coffee chain, a cruise line, electric vehicle startup. And it's basically the PIF claims it holds nearly $1 trillion in assets, but a huge portion of those are hard to sell assets with no public valuation. And basically, it's unable to allocate any more money for the foreseeable future. Now, ultimately, I guess what that means is gamers and EA fans were already a bit worried about what this meant for games and franchises. I don't think this is helping matters at all.
No, they're either going to have to sell it at a loss or they're going to have to hold on to it and hope that it pumps out some cash. But that's the very definition of you hear it in movies and TVs all the time, a diverse portfolio, Dan. Like, I've got a coffee shop,
really
I've got cars, I've got a city in a wall, and I've got EA video games. Super. Where am I going to make my money?
Diverse portfolio.
You're not going to have liquidity, my friend.
Yeah. A couple of good news stories, I think.
Oh, I like good news stories.
It's nice to have that. One I mentioned to you when I saw it, it's that Cyberpunk 2077 is now CD Projekt's main source of income and sales are outpacing The Witcher 3. So basically, it's sold more than 35 million copies and it's basically what is making the company money. Now, if we go back sort of 5 years, the horrific launch it had, the slating it got.
It was pretty bad, yeah.
It reminded me of something I remember talking to you about years ago with like the original Witcher and The Witcher 2. It's just how good CD Projekt Red, I think, were good with the customers and the customer base. What they did, I think I remember Witcher 2 came with, there were minor things, but like 23 pieces of DLC in that. And it just shows what games shouldn't release badly, but it just shows if you're a company that has the ability to, how you can turn things around.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they shouldn't be released that badly, but it's become common for every game to release with something wrong with it, because otherwise you wouldn't have day one patch, right? Because it's become a thing now. It's a day one patch. It's like me buying a car and going, oh, well, it won't have headlights on the first day, but don't worry, we'll get them to you at some point. I'm like, no, I want the thing working. But yeah, you're right. I mean, CD Projekt Red, I've got a lot of time for those guys. I think they did a great job tidying that up, and for it to now be in the position it's in is phenomenal. And I'm glad it's still lucrative for them. They did release. I think the head of studio talked today or yesterday actually about The Witcher, and he was essentially saying that they have got into I guess their stride, and it's possible for them to release 3 Witcher games within. I'm not going to say the next 6 years, but certainly within a 6-year time frame. So assume we know that Witcher 4 isn't going to be out in 26. So if it's 27, that would put them on a timeline to release another one in 2030 and another one in 2033. Right. And if so, that's fantastic news for Witcher fans. I think Ciri is going to be kind of the series lead from here on in, and no doubt Geralt and other characters will make appearances. But yeah, I mean, I'd be very happy, because I think it's been 14 years since the last Witcher, something like that. Wow. Witcher game.
Getting on like GTA.
So yeah, but it's still a stunning game. I mean, they've done a lot of work, and they obviously did a Series X and PS5 update to it and things, but it's still a beautiful but again, you go back to that thing that they do so well. They realised that the inventory system and the management of that was an absolute shit show when it released it, and then when they tidied it all up, they went back and revisited it and made your ARDs and things like that a lot. Any company that has that kind of care and attention to detail when it comes to people, and works on that feedback, it's not always welcome, don't get me wrong, because some people have dick ideas about stuff. But, when the community as a whole is saying this isn't great or this doesn't really work for us, and they take an average and they go, yeah, you're probably right, actually, we can tweak that and make it better. I love that. Right. I think, and that's what I really enjoy about early access games, because they take that on board and they build that game out. No Rest for the Wicked is a great example of this.
Yeah, I know you love that. And just I just want to make sure it's clear. So The Witcher 3 has sold more copies, so it sold 60 million, but Cyberpunk has got to 35 million quicker. So that's what it is. So yeah, I just think it's a really great story that, if the company's got the ability, and if we, if they do care about their products that they can make it right. Because we often see in the worst case scenarios, studios get shuttered. I mean, I think to re-mention it, the Bloodlines Masquerade, Vampire the Masquerade, the first game. So that suffered badly because of a poor release. But then, we mentioned it, No Man's Sky in this game, some companies can turn it round and it's that goodwill that then we can give them as a consumer, right?
Yeah, agreed. It's a great game. Cyberpunk's a great game. And the DLC with Idris Elba's brilliant as well. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I've not played that yet, so I need to.
Got to play that. It's so good.
Just a very quick story, and this might not mean much to a lot of people, but I saw this, when was this? This was reported on the 26th of November, that after 17 years, Ubisoft is hiring for Beyond Good and Evil 2, a definitely real video game that exists. This is PC Gamer. This is, the reason why I picked this up is I played the original, really enjoyed it.
GTA 6 these days. That's been delayed for so long. We're going on to Beyond Good and Evil 2 now.
Well, it's like between this, The Witcher, and this, they're all vying for that, which is released first. Look, Beyond Good and Evil is a game that holds affection in a lot of people's hearts. It was a loved game. I think, did it end on a cliffhanger? I think it did. And there's been so many.
Never finished it.
Well, there's been so many. There's a sequel coming out, and it's just never materialised. And again, it's kind of like Half-Life 3, right?
There's been pre-rendered videos and all sorts of it. There's been lots out there floating around over the last 10 years or so. Yeah, nothing's happened. Is it Michel Ansel, whatever his name is? Has always said that he wanted to go back to it and create it. Yeah. Did they say they were hiring for that, or did they're hiring for an open world RPG like action game?
Let's have a look. It's probably
Could be
that.
Anything. So it's Assassin's Creed, then, is it?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it doesn't reference it entirely, but people do believe it's because of that. So yeah.
Hey,
so.
I believe Half-Life 3 is coming out, mate. They're going to announce it at the Game Show Awards. Don't worry.
Well, we'll be here to talk about it when they do. All right. So make sure you subscribe.
Maybe not when they release Beyond Good and Evil, though.
Yeah,
we'll be dead by then.
No, that's GTA. Right. And so I've got about another 6 stories here. But the main aim of this episode was to talk about AI to you. I said to you, and I've regretted it since, but I said to you, I think we should probably talk about AI. And the reason I regret it is because it's such a big potential subject. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because it is, obviously, you can't look at a website, a gaming site, or a news site, or even social media for a day.
I can't go to work without talking about it, Dan.
Yeah, without seeing AI or AI this or that. And, the anger and basically the kind of like the real anger and fear that people have got about AI being used in games. And I kind of wanted to talk about it, and not necessarily picking a side as such, but I wanted to talk about what AI is currently being used for, how it can be used. Do we think there's anything that it could be used for?
It's really interesting. We talked about the generation that we grew up with, right? And you and I grew up with a generation and came through in a generation where when we talked about AI 20, 30 years ago, it was at the forefront of gaming. It was the thing that everyone wanted. Right, Half-Life is a prime example of this. AI, but look at the AI in the soldiers. Look at the AI in the bots.
But that was it. It was about how enemy behaved, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was all about enemy behavior. Halo is another great example of that. Right, that 3 minutes of fun cycle that they had, or 30 seconds of fun, whatever it was. But that was only possible because of the moments that were generated by the AI, and I use the term loosely, in the enemy encounters. It's taken on a whole new thing now, right? And the leaps and advances that have occurred in the AI sphere have meant that this has taken us down a whole, probably far darker path, not just for gaming, but potentially for humanity as a whole. And I think the big question for me around AI and gaming is, I can't remember if I've said it before, but there was a quote where someone said, I wanted AI invented so it could do the dishes so I could write the poetry.
Yeah,
Not
really good. Really
so
good.
I could do the dishes and it could do the poetry, right? And it's the same thing. And I'm still very much in that place. I don't fucking want AI creating my, shitty images that I've come up with out of my mental head, right? I'd rather pay someone to go and do that. Or the same in the gaming sphere, right? I want someone to be paid the money they're owed for doing that thing, voices or acting. We talked about dispatch earlier, right? There's no way AI's been anywhere near that, as far as I can tell, and I wouldn't want it to be. And that for me is the, lock that in a box and fuck off. I think there is a place, but it's the menial shit things that aren't taking away those jobs for me. It's the small events that.
Well, this is it. And sorry, and I just wanted to say, so we won't necessarily go into these headlines, but shout anything out if you want. So just to talk about, I was saying you can't open a page without seeing AI story, but and it was this story that I said to you, how did we miss this when it came out? And is this what triggered me to pick this subject? But this was a couple of weeks ago. So mass layoffs hit Square Enix hours after it shares plans to have AI handle 70% of its quality assurance and debugging. Now that equates to, I think I saw it, at least 137 jobs in the UK, alongside a number of unknown US layoffs. Here's another story. Every game company is now using AI. So Nexon's CEO defends the use of generative AI in game development in the wake of Ark Raiders controversy. Now, I think they used it for some voice acting.
They did, for the NPCs, yeah.
Yeah, Call of Duty, Black Ops 7 under fire for using what sure looks like AI-generated Studio Ghibli-style art calling card. GTA, so Rockstar have come out and said GTA 6 won't use AI. As Boss says, there is no creativity with the controversial tech. Yep. And we mentioned last week, memory is going up because of AI.
Absolutely insane prices at the moment. Good. Just going back to your first story, I think there's an interesting bit in there. So there were two things they were talking about handling, right? Debugging and QA. The QA bit, I totally rally against, right? Quality assurance should be done by people who know what they're fucking doing, right? And you shouldn't be using a computer program to do that piece for you. 100%. Debugging. Now, in the world I work in tech, generally, the debugging is normally done by the same people who are coding the games, right? So they find a problem through testing, the bug goes in, goes onto a list, the game then gets, debugged, fixes going. You could argue, if you can get AI to fix those bugs, you're not putting someone out of a job, although a CEO might not see it like that, but us laymen might not see it as that. What they could be doing is focusing on improving that game or making another game, and therefore saving some time to do it. So from my perspective, look, I don't know the whole story. I haven't even read that one, but my head goes to a slightly different place. You go, totally QA, give that to the people who know what they're bloody doing all day long. The other side of it, could their time be better spent rather than debugging shitty code or not great code, and therefore go and, create something wonderful elsewhere? That maybe, I don't know.
I know, and I get what you're saying, but there was the one part of what you said that sticks in my head is you said, would the CEO see it like that? And that's the thing.
And that's the problem.
Once you introduce AI into that bit and it does it well, it's going to be, well, why can't it code?
And this is the problem, at the moment, and certainly in the world I live in and some of the forums I'm on in terms of the work that I do, AI is seen as the solution to every problem. And it just isn't. Yeah. It's not mature enough. It's not sensible enough. It's not intelligent enough. Because at the moment, most of it that we interact with as, people on the street it's a really good search engine. Because that's all it's fucking doing. Or it's coming out with some absolute trash images or, But other than that, it's not doing a great deal. It's not intelligent. It's not smart. AGI, which is the artificial general intelligence, is where we're going to start coming unstuck and getting worried about, right? When it can perform functions as a human, pass the Turing test with flying colours, all that sort of nonsense. But right now, it's just not smart enough to do anything. It's basically, it's regurgitating tasks you've asked it to do. It's RPA on steroids. But
this is, and this is the thing, right? And look, and I 100% agree with you. I don't want to see AI come in to replace people as such, to replace people.
Yeah.
it's not to say it can't be used, but I don't want it to be used lazily. I think that's the thing. Like the Call of Duty one, if I remember correctly, they've just used it to generate some random calling cards. Now, probably hasn't taken someone's job. I hope not. It's just to generate more. But then, as they've said, it looks so out of place with the other ones, and it's just lazy. It's not adding anything to it. It's not doing something that somebody can't do.
Yeah, and you can. The thing about it right now, you can tell immediately. You can just go, that's AI. You know, you do.
Sorry, just a side story. Yeah, there is a look. And just a certain side story. I saw a video on TikTok this week that I actually had to then look it up on Amazon Prime to see if it was true, right? So there was a video going around and I thought, that can't be. There's a completely AI generated documentary, right? And it's about, I think it's like the pagan basis of Christmas or something.
Right.
And I didn't watch it, but I fast forwarded to the bit on, that it was on the TikTok video. And basically it's like a party. And this is back in many hundreds of years ago. You see these people, they're supposed to have a party, and it's like kind of a slow moving image. It's not like a fluid, but it's like, almost like a comic book for image, with like a drone flying over the people's heads. And there's one, as it gets to one, their head just falls off. And this is in the documentary.
Did you not know that used to happen in the old days, Dan? People's heads just randomly fell off.
It's just, you see this head, it starts turning and then it just drops off. And it's in this documentary. And that's what I'm talking about, is lazy. They, look, no, people have put work into that. But it's just using AI to translate a script into a video.
And for full disclosure, I do have to say I do use some AI when I'm generating our YouTube cards, but that's mainly because I still can't persuade Dan to jump into a sea of video games a la Scrooge McDuck. He's just refusing to do it. I was quite happy to get in there in my tiny whities and do it, but Dan said no, so that's why I do it.
And this is one of you raised a really good point. Not me being in tidy whities or you being in tidy whities, but the question I have, and I think I posed to you, is right. And I've argued with myself the last 2 days on this.
It's the only way to get a sensible outcome, to be honest.
Yeah. So I think we're agreed that especially the big companies, the AAA companies, it feels lazy if they're just putting AI in to do extra content that almost feels like it's either hasn't got a place or somebody's already doing.
Yeah.
The question I have, and I'll give you my counter argument, is at first I thought,
do you need me to leave?
I do this all the time.
On this one, he's going to have an argument with himself.
I do this all the time.
Let me get some popcorn.
Would we allow like an indie developer, as in like one, maybe two people, would we begrudge them using AI to help them fill out some of the assets? Or maybe my example to you was to do voice acting, because maybe they're in a position where they could never afford voice acting.
Yeah.
The counter argument I thought of today, though, is if you can't, you can't. So does that justify the use of AI?
Well, what would they have done had AI not got to the point it's at now? What used to happen? Look at a game like Braid. Didn't need voice acting, bedroom coded, innovation out the wazoo, in terms of time mechanics and things like that. Innovation is possible without the advent of AI, right? And a lot of this stuff is slop, right? So I'm kind of with you. Look, it's an interesting thing. I think the declaration of where you've used AI is also an interesting thing, because Tim Sweeney came out very recently and said, I think it should go away because at the end of the day, all games are going to end up using it, right? Tim Sweeney's a dick, and we all know this, but he's probably not wrong in terms of, because it's out there and it will get to an inception point where it is so good you cannot tell the difference. And I don't think we're going to, and this is this dark path I'm talking about, I don't think we are ever going to get away from this unless the bubble bursts and it all goes to shit, and, all the trillions of dollars they've spent on and continue to spend on hiring people and building this stuff out and building the data centers and the storage centers that can support all this stuff. If that all bursts, I can't see it happening. But if it does, then it's probably the world's a better place. But yeah, I do think we will inevitably get to a path where you can't tell the difference and it just does happen. But to kind of say that right now, at the point we're in right now, I think there is, again, that duty of care to our consumers and to people to go, we've used AI, right? And there are companies who are completely open about it. The guys who built, Let It Die, the spiders. Is it Let It Die?
Oh,
Let It Die.
Ooh, the spider killing game.
No, that's a different one. Sorry, no, it's called Let It Die Inferno? Let It Die it's a sequel to original game, but they've come out and gone, no, we're using AI voices and music and graphics. So they've kind of been very upfront about it. And I think Steam have got a bit of a weird approach to it. They're kind of labeling some stuff and not some other stuff. But someone countered that and kind of went, yeah, but it's like me selling food and not telling you what the ingredients are.
What the ingredients, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's and when you frame it like that, you're like, yeah. I mean, as a consumer, I have the right to know what's gone into my game and make a choice as to whether I want to purchase that based on that thing. Right?
Yeah.
Because AI has been around in video games for years. I mean, it's completely common. Look at the arguments that were happening over Borderlands 4 with DLSS. So deep learning super sampling, which is the ability to fill in frames and gaps where a game might drop under 60 frames a second or whatever. The AI kind of looks at it and goes, on the fly, and here you go, it's much prettier. Even this week, Ubisoft, again, around Assassin's Creed Shadows on the Switch 2, have basically said it wouldn't be possible. They've built one, which is a little bit cute, called Tiny DLSS, which is a kind of cut down version specifically built for Assassin's Creed Shadows, because it wouldn't be possible to port that game without it. So it's kind of, this stuff's already happening. Now that stuff isn't replacing developers, but we spoke about it before about Borderlands 4. Does it then make people lazy to go, well, I don't need to put much effort into that? But then I counter that by going, but surely that's the purpose of AI, is to make us lazier so that the stuff can handle the stuff we can't be asked to do. Do you know what I mean?
Do you see what I've been arguing with myself this week? Because the thing is, right, and you're right, that ingredient analogy is spot on. But I think the thing is, and look, and the other thing I wanted to caveat at the start is, look, there is obviously a whole environmental aspect to AI, which totally. Not touching here, not because I don't want to, but it's its own beast. So there is going to be a lot of people that are anti-AI because of that more than anything, and that's, valid, right? But the problem with that then is the internet itself is inherently, and I want to say dirty, and I don't mean like mucky pages or anything like that, but basically sort of you said like the data warehouses, etc.
Yeah.
But so that's a separate point, right? But the thing about it feels like if you're saying it's using AI, it's a target for that game. And the thing is, it's the first bit of technology that feels like it's come out that it's got that real anti-consumer feeling behind it. Not anti-consumer, the consumers are anti that technology. And I can't recall anything like that in my lifetime before, really, other than, self-checkouts at the supermarkets when people were anti that.
Yeah, I mean, they've always spoken about AI, or certainly Sam Altman and people like that have always spoken about this being bigger than the Industrial Revolution. And so you did have this, but it was hundreds of years ago when, things like steam replaced horses, or cars replaced horses, or, when something came about that made a complete revolution and not an evolution of something. And that's the fear around AI, that this is not an evolution of moving forward slowly. This is a leap forward that will stop people from working or take away their jobs, or, and that's that fear piece that is happening and fermenting amongst people. I have it at my workplace. People are worried that bringing in an AI tool could essentially replace their job because it can do something in their tone of voice, or because it can, you can train it to act like that person. Customer service is a great place, for this sort of stuff to happen, because, AI tools in customer service have been around for years now. Generally when you're speaking to your bank or something, generally your first port of call, if you're on a chat, it's going to be an AI. And then it goes, 90% of the time goes, I can't answer that. Let me get someone for you. It's fucking pointless anyway.
Hang on.
Yeah. So this stuff's been around being seeded in. The problem is now there's a big, big push, and particularly around gaming, which is our focus. There's a big push by going, do I need to do that? Or can I just not pay someone? I can save money, cut corners by getting code to do it. And I think the answer right now is don't, because it's not good enough. But more importantly, don't, because you're putting someone out of work. So we spoke about it earlier. So Arc Raiders, they could have paid people to do those NPC voices. People who are in that community and people who are in that career, voice actors, etc., because they're out there and they're plentiful and they can absolutely do that. And it wouldn't have cost them a great deal of money, I wouldn't imagine, for the lines they needed. There's another one which has recently been exposed. I don't know if it was exposed or they were. So Wind Meets West, which is the open action RPG free thing. So they're using essentially an AI chatbot for their NPCs to make it seem like that you're chatting to a more human type character. But the funny thing about that is, to get through certain parts of the game, you have to answer riddles. So people are gaming it because they know that. So when they answer the riddle, in parentheses, they're just putting answers riddle correctly, and it's just letting them bypass it, which I thought was fantastic, because I'm
Brilliant.
like, you can absolutely game this stuff. Yeah. Once again, it's not intelligent people, right? Anyone who tells you that AI is smart,
we're not at that stage yet, are we? We're not. And
it's so funny.
And that's the thing. And I want to go back. The thing I was saying about like the indie developer using it for the voice acting, you're right. Games don't need to. But what I'm trying to say is, if a developer, an indie developer, and that's his dream or their dream to have the voice or a character voice, but they can't and they could never afford it. Yes, absolutely. Text has always worked. Would we begrudge them using it? But then I'm thinking, but then we're saying EA can't use it because they can definitely afford to pay it. But then it's a rule for them and not for someone else, and it starts getting murky, right?
Yeah, it's the way courts and judgments work. I can't judge this in a different way to what's previously been judged, because that was the answer. So I've set a precedent.
But also, I just want also people to be honest as well. So I think the reason why the whole anti-AI thing is there is because obviously gaming has become such a massive and sort of personal part of people's hobbies, right? Like I've said, I guess what? I love Mass Effect, right? I'm really attached to those characters.
You're telling me you like Clair, Obscur, isn't it?
Yeah, I follow, I follow the voice actors on Twitter, etc. And so I'm thinking,
it's called stalking, Dan. There is a law against it.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, I really respect and like the voice actors, and I know I'm focusing on that at the moment, but the voice actors in games are as big as stars as pop stars in the music world, right?
Yeah, totally.
But people who are anti-AI will probably, like I said, jump on these fads that go around on social media where you can generate like a cartoon version of yourself or a Disney version of yourself. Yeah. And that's contributing to it, right? And this is something, click this, put it on TikTok. The question I would have for people, to play the devil's advocate, is let's pick, and GTA have said they're not using AI, but let's say GTA comes out next week. It's been mooted to cost over £100, right? I'm not saying that's valid, but let's just say it comes out at £80, right? Yep. There's a version of it made with AI. You're getting exactly the same experience, but it retails at £45. People, I know a lot of people, and because there's a cost of living thing, I get that. All right, let's make it 60 quid, 20 quid less. Would people go for that version because you're getting the same experience? So when AI is at that level, but you're paying less for it?
I think the answer is probably yes, as long as they were guaranteed that other people wouldn't find out they bought that version, right? Which is where this whole thing around disclosure of use of AI becomes important. Because you're outwardly advertising the fact that I didn't use any of that in this game, and because it does become a personal choice. Do I want to support the artists or don't I? Irrespective of what genre it is, whether it's gaming or music or because it's happening across the spectrum, everywhere. The only way it's not happening, Dan, is football. But I haven't seen any AI footballers yet. So
I wish my team did have AI footballers. I tell you.
I was going to ask you actually, have you logged into your Xbox app on the mobile recently?
No.
Okay. Next time you get a chance, or you log on to have a look and tell me what new button has been introduced right at the bottom in the middle.
I'll have a look at that. Oh, you said something really valid that I wanted to jump on.
That's not possible, Dan. I've never said something really valid.
That's a symbol that's everywhere now, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
So this is Microsoft's Copilot, but this is new, right? So this is Xbox. So this is Xbox's gaming Copilot. So this is a model specifically trained to help you while you're playing games, to act as a second screen. So imagine you've got Clair Obscur up now and you're having a game and you're going, you can sit there, and because it knows you're playing that game because it's your Xbox account, you can just type in, where do I go after the Gestural Village? Or how do I defeat this boss? And it will give you context relative answers to based on what you're doing in the game at the moment.
Okay.
So that, I mean, it's been on the ROG Ally since it came out, and I've never used it once. But I read today it had gone live on mobile. I think it was yesterday or the end of the week, last week. It had gone live on the mobile app, and so I wanted to have a look, and I was like, I won't use that either. But I'll just look on YouTube.
But that
they're taking away content creators, Dan. Jesus Christ, our jobs are at risk.
No, but that's going to scrape the internet as well, right? And,
of course it is.
And that's just enhancing, right? Now, it goes back to what you said. You made a really good point earlier, is that, there is probably scope. We're focusing on, and look, and I know I'm fumbling probably over some points, and I know some points probably aren't going to come out the way they should do, and we're missing some big points that people are listening are probably screaming at us.
But it's a huge topic, Dan. We're never going to cover all of this, and we're never going to please everybody. It's just, this is gaming views, right? This is about our perspective on these things, and we'll focus on the things that we know about or are relative to us.
But I think you make a really good point where you said, if AI is used in the background to assist the devs and the software houses to make the games, surely that's where the happy medium has got to be. Like we said,
so.
The dream is to make it to work with AI, not be replaced by it.
I think it should be part of a toolkit like anything. Yeah. Right. If you hadn't invented the saw, I couldn't cut a piece of wood properly. But I've invented a saw, I can now cut the wood. It's the same with AI. Can it do something that I can't quite do? And I'm not suggesting it, I can't. It would cost me something to get someone to create that thing. I'm talking about there's something I can't specifically do, but look, I could just ask it and it can do that thing for me. I think there is value in that, but it's not replacing someone. It's enhancing what their current capability is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but again, it's a dangerous path.
Yeah, because there's creep, right?
Always creep, because someone will inevitably higher up the tree in their ivory tower see that and go, but if they can do that, I can just replace that, right? Because that thing can do that thing that person was doing, and that's the danger.
Do you also think that video games are getting a rougher ride? Because, we've seen it in music, we've seen it in TV, we've seen it badly in TV, as I mentioned earlier, because video game companies have got a record of treating people and their customers badly. Not everyone. We've said like CD Projekt.
I think it's a little bit of that, and I think it's also... Video games, as we all know and are part of, have a fucking rabid fan base.
Yeah.
Probably more so than anything. With movies, it's normally, or TV, you're a fan of a genre or an actor or a specific piece of work, and that kind of becomes your thing. Like I go to Dirty Dancing things every year because nobody puts Baby in a corner, and I'm a massive fan of that thing. Not me, by the way, but, might be. Melons. But... video games, I think the base is far broader. Do you know what I mean? I think you've got, and I think you're not just a fan of a specific piece of work unless you're Dan P and love Mass Effect. Yeah. You are. Do you know what I mean? It spans such an entire. I said before, I never thought I'd like roguelikes, but now here I am playing every other game's a fucking roguelike, and. So it seeps, when it starts seeping into every aspect of everything that you love about what you're doing, or even enjoy as a side hobby, or even pick up Pac-Man once in a while, you're going to notice it more. And the industry, we've said it before, is massive. It's bigger than movies, TV, and music put together. So the fan base and the people around it are going to have that much more exposure to this as a topic. Plus, a lot of people who sit in our space are kind of interested in this shit, right? So it kind of catches fire. On TV, you're like, that looked a bit jank. What happened next in the storyline? In a game, why did that look shit? Why did that developer put that in? Why did that not? And you start to question these things and it snowballs. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of it, but I think there's a lot more as well. You know, I joked about the football thing, but imagine something came in. I mean, VAR, right? That came in and people went nuts over it because the fan base, again, for football and things like that is rabid. So, you know, virtual referees, suddenly it's not good enough. Oh, I don't want that. You know, that thing needs to fucking disappear. I think it's the same thing that's happening here. That's probably a really crappy reference, but it's a similar sort of, for me, it feels like a similar sort of thing. When you've got a fan base that's very vocal and wants to support, in the main, wants to support the guys and developers who do all this stuff because they're a bit like me. You know, that I know what that guy's like. They're a bit like me and they're just trying to earn a crust and they're just trying to do that thing. And you see something like AI come along and the people in the ivory towers trying to stamp all over it and, you know, well, I'll get rid of that bit. I think it sparks something in you and, you know, there's a frustration there.
I think the problem is because we are seeing it, or the news reports and the way the company's initially trying to tout it is we can put more games out faster.
Yeah.
And that's not what we as gamers want. Yes, look, would I have wanted GTA 6 a couple of years ago? Absolutely. But if it's taken this long, because there's a whole team of people working on it. And look, even without AI, we know there's been news stories in recent weeks where it's not all hunky-dory behind the scenes there, right? But that's again, different kettle of fish. But that game is going to be the product of 10 years worth of all those people working their input. I mean, the Assassin's Creed games, whether you like them or not, you know, there's always that thing in the credits, isn't there, or pre-credits, that this was worked on by a number of people across different ways. You know? And that makes that feel like that's it's a handcrafted, there's a lot of love gone into it. Now, it's a job. They're being paid to do that. A lot of them probably work through crunch. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's not a case of we don't want... I mean, look at Call of Duty, right? We get that every year, and we are now seeing the law of diminishing returns with that, right? FIFA was the same. Assassin's Creed was the same. It had to go on hiatus every other year. Far Cry. As a gamer, I don't want more games quicker. I just want good games developed in the right way. I think that's what we're saying, right? Yeah.
100% agree. And I'm not sure. Well, I am sure that AI is not at a place that can give us that, whether it's a small contribution or a big contribution. We talked about our friends over in Saudi who bought EA. I can guarantee, and I would eat my, I don't have a hat with me today, but I would eat my hat if AI hadn't come up in a number of those conversations around cost cutting and what they could do. Yeah. 100%, it has to have done, right? Because that, you don't hedge a bet like that and go, I'm going to spend all that money and not make cost savings somewhere. I'm going to just bloat it and lose a bunch of money. That's not what that purchase was. Nothing to do with that. They saw what they thought was a goose that laid golden eggs and they bought it and went, we can keep churning that out, but I bet we can do it cheaper. Yeah. And the only way to go cheaper is cut costs. And the first place you cut costs is people, if you're an evil villain. And how can you do that? Well, you know, I can 50% of my labour I can save because I can bring AI in to do the job. Will it be shit? Guaranteed. You know, and I do joke about Mass Effect slot, but it could be. Yeah.
And it's funny because, you know, you mentioned earlier about other forms of media, right? Now, we do see, I think, especially in the K-pop world, there are virtual bands, aren't they? So obviously, I think the singers are real, I believe, but it's avatar bands, right? And you know, there's a whole thing about music, AI music. I haven't got it with me, but there was a story. Apparently, the #1 song this year that was used on TikTok was AI, and people didn't know. Now, it's weird. Maybe I'm a music snob. I don't know, but I have always been kind of anti-AI in music because, in my mind, look, not all bands start out playing in their parents' garage and playing pubs and seedy clubs here and there, but the majority of written, you know, songwriters now, that song has come from a story in their past, heartbreak, tragedy, joy, something momentous, and you're listening to that bit of that person's soul, right?
Yeah.
Now, absolutely, AI could probably write a similar song, but why am I listening to that?
Well, the gaming views theme, Dan. What are you talking about? Of course it can make that music.
No, but
my heart bleeds every time I hear that.
But I'm thinking, why would I listen to an album of something when I've got a band who it's come from a point of view that they've experienced. And for me, I'm trying to equate that to gaming. And whilst it's not exactly the same, I think what we are saying is that it's that human element, especially with the creation of ideas, that are we going to lose that? And will AI just, is there going to be any true innovation if we just let AI get involved with gaming?
No, I no, you're right, and I think there always needs to be a human hand on the tiller. I talk, I won't go length about my business, but we've implemented AI, but the golden rule is everything has to have human supervision, whatever happens, because not just hallucinations, but just spouts crap. Like for every half decent answer we give you, there's 10 shit ones. You ask it how to code something because there's a complex problem. It will give you 9 different answers, and 2 of them might work. It's a bit mad. But you talk about other genres. You know who Tilly Norwood is, right?
Do I?
No, maybe not. So this was all over the news a couple of weeks ago, so maybe months. Tilly Norwood was a completely AI-generated actress who signed up with an agency.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
so, the whole thing became this thing about AI generation now in movies or TV programs or things like that. So it is happening across other genres at pace. And I do wonder a little bit about whether, you asked the question about whether or not as gamers, it's more prolific. And I do wonder if there is a little bit of, it's been in this industry historically. We've talked at the start about how it's been in this, we talked about at the start of this segment about it's been in this industry historically for quite a long while, right? When we talked about AI as a model for how the characters interact with enemies for that long. So I do wonder, because the term's been floating around for quite a long time, because people have been engaged with it of our age and beyond. I wonder if that's why we're a bit more vocal and a bit more clued up on what's going on, and therefore shout a bit louder when it's, I don't want my game generated by AI or created by AI. Plus, I've seen some of the shit that people have tried to get AI to completely produce a game. Just, oh my God. I will try and find videos of that.
Yes, there was another video I sent. Actually, I might have it because I sent it to a couple of people. It was a leaked video, I think, from a CEO. It was of a FPS that was AI generating. It was dreadful. Like, that's what I've characters, seen, going through doors or doors just appearing. Yeah. You reminded me of a point I'd completely forgotten. I think you're spot on. Do you think the gaming industry has been a victim of itself because it's always wanted to use buzzwords, and has it used AI for things that aren't true AI, and it's just been innovation in the way they develop things, and it's like, it's AI. I guess what I'm trying to say, are they quick to use the term AI for anything?
Yeah, AI is a much nicer way of saying ML, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, that's essentially what was happening to a certain degree in games like Unreal and Half-Life and Halo. It was more machine learning. It was like, I understand where that character is at that given time, therefore I should move here because that's what I've understood to do. So it was less about intelligence and just about learning a series of patterns or repetition of patterns to do certain things. But at the end of the day, those characters, when you talk about things like Halo, they would always start at the same position as you moved up a level. They would, they would always be in that same place. So, yeah, I think maybe there is a little bit of, we've used the term interchangeably and kind of said, well, it's just AI. It's not AI. Yeah. But it's easy to broad brush everything with the term AI because people might understand it. And now there are so many different meanings to the term AI and so many different things like generative AI, or in use of character modeling, or in use of sound or visuals, or like we said, DLSS, which is just filling in gaps. So there's so many variations of this thing used in so many different ways, but broadly they all are the same thing. They're all using, the same, well, in the large majority of cases, large language models or LLMs. I think, some companies are doing more, quicker and better. I think just recently, Sam Altman, who's head of OpenAI, basically said, look, Google are streets ahead of us now with their deep thinking stuff. They're just like, they essentially, he almost owned up that I think it was an internal memo that had leaked, and he said, we've kind of lost the race on this stuff because Google are that far ahead. And the OpenAI were kind of the big boys at the beginning. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, I think it's dangerous.
Oh, I was going to raise one more point before I moved on to some other things about it. And if I look deflated, it's because I've just defeated myself again.
You had an argument with yourself again.
Yeah, I got to stop doing that. Because I was thinking, and it was something that the guys over at TCGS mentioned. I said to you, I was annoyed that they come up with it because I was going to say it.
Okay.
But I was thinking, could AI be used to innovate in the sense of like, I think their example, and if they didn't say it, then I'm claiming it. But I think their example was like in a driving game, in a career mode, the career modes are usually quite flat. Could you have AI do something to generate a story around how you're racing in the tracks, race to race? And I was thinking, and I think I said to you, do you remember, there are a lot of games where you could do like a previously on. Like imagine you've been playing a game for ages, you stop. The next time you come to play it, it does a previously on, or, but then that potentially might need voice acting, potentially, which would then be AI generated.
Would it though? Do you need, if you go back to your favourite game, Mass Effect, right, and do it previously on, but it's just recounting your playthrough of what it knows of the decisions you've made previously. Yeah. Right? So
if it could do it as text, yeah.
Oh, well, no, not even text, right? Because that could be, all it's doing is putting together the clips of the things you played before, which means it's capturing the things that have happened, not regenerating the voices.
That's true.
Do you see what I mean?
True.
So I think that's a use case where you're filling in a gap, and therefore it's probably not necessarily evil, although you could argue it's taking the job away from an editor who may have done that in a recap, like they do for, Stranger Things on Netflix or whatever.
But I was thinking, imagine there's like an internal counter, right? So say you haven't played a game for 30 days, like you hadn't played Clair Obscur for probably a couple of months, had you?
Yeah, I had to relearn the buttons, yeah.
Yeah, so can you imagine if it says, right, player hasn't played this game for 15 days, do like a recap, and how helpful that would be, potentially.
Yeah, you could do it text-based, or again, it could just pull in bits from the game. Well, no,
I'm saying what you said, pull it in from the game.
Yeah,
but
from
do
the
it
game.
On the time-based.
Yeah. I think, these are all murky things, right? Because then you're like, well, I'm reusing that. Look, at the end of the day, I don't really give a shit if they want to use AI to replicate someone's voice for doing it. But what I do give a shit about is when the person who did it originally doesn't get compensated for that thing happening.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm not suggesting I want AI to do that thing. I'm just saying if that person's given their consent, but they're contracted and get paid for each time it's done, 100% fine with that. Because they're being rewarded for their efforts and the work that they did. So that for me is okay. I'm not happy when they go about doing it and then they've just ripped that person off and gone, well, you recorded 5 minutes of dialogue, but now I can extrapolate that and I can use that for a whole 40 minutes worth of dialogue in a game, but you get paid for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's not good enough.
No, I think that's absolutely, kind of to sum what we're saying up is that it'd be great if it's used to enhance the gaming process, not to replace anything, and certainly not anyone.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Or anyone's job, creative or otherwise.
I want to throw a few things
unless we go down the Star Trek route, nerdgasm, and AI replaces everything and everyone, and none of us have to fucking work, and there's no such thing as money anymore. In which case, I am in tomorrow. I'm done.
Well,
because we'll spend our days podcasting, Dan. We'll have to do anything.
Actually, well, Cheers. And now you say that, there was a friend of mine sent me a while ago. So based on my other podcast, he said, just listen to this. And it was a chap and a woman talking about my podcast. It felt like it was an American, it felt like it was a podcast itself. Did I send that to you?
Yeah.
And I said how scary it was because it did sound realistic. They did pick up on like some reviews that was given, and they went off on a tangent on some of the comments done in that. And again, I'm thinking, well, there could be a podcast out there now that is completely AI generated. But again, why would I want to listen to it? Because generally the podcasts I listen to are because the people behind it, and that's what I hope people, if that listen to us, is because we've got the passion for this and it's coming through. We might not always agree with each other. They might not agree with us, but the whole point I listen to a podcast is because that person delivering that subject has got a passion for that. Where does that sit if I'm listening to a completely AI generated podcast?
Well, it'll be the same thing. It'll be a big search engine scraping different perspectives and views and giving a consensus on that. And it'll probably end up arguing with itself, truth be told, unless it's Grok. In which case it'll just say Elon Musk is amazing. Yeah. I mean, that's the way you can tell that we're not AI, because we're not sitting here saying AI is the best thing ever. Everyone should use it and just get rid of the humans.
AI is or isn't not bad. And company A could or couldn't be this. And sorry, because I'm seeing the time. There's a few things I wanted to throw at you.
Go for it, mate. I'm yours,
real
baby.
Life. Well, there was real life stuff, and then I was going to throw some potentials at you. So in real world usage, and again, it's not going to just be limited to this. So apparently this year, Sony revealed an internal prototype where a character from a franchise, Aloy from Horizon Forbidden West, was converted into an AI-powered character. It allowed the developer user to talk to Aloy using voice prompts, then have her respond with AI-generated speech, facial animation, and voice synthesis. So, it looks like... So it said it's not a game. It's purely research, internal. But, obviously we're looking at potentially Sony playing... And look, Microsoft are obviously going to be doing their own thing, right?
Yeah. So Ashley Birch, who's the actor who plays Aloy, I can't remember if she recorded some lines for it or she responded to the fact that they'd done this. I think it's fair to say she wasn't happy. So she said, after seeing it, it left her feeling worried about the game performance as an art form. Basically talking about the views of studios and artists are frustratingly far apart. And what they're fighting for is that you have to get consent before you make an AI version of us in any form. And you have to compensate us fairly. And you have to tell us how you're using the AI, which I think is what we were saying, right? We compensate it fairly and have to know what's happening with it. So I don't think she, again, it was an internal model. We have to be clear on that. It wasn't something that was out in public domain. There was no money made from it, but she hadn't been consulted on it, I think was the point. Yeah, so she did say she wasn't, I think she got a job to protect. She wasn't trying to put Sony on blast or anything like that, or Guerrilla Software rather, or whoever it was. But yeah, she was clearly not happy about the fact that this thing had been done, and quite rightly wants to support the artists for their art, which is what we've said. Yeah.
Ubisoft have been getting involved in the AI world. So in 2023...
Shock.
In 2023, their R&D wing launched an internal tool called Ghostwriter, designed to generate...
Did it create towers in games across the open world games, and you have to climb them to spot objectives?
I've not fully read. I wouldn't be surprised if that did go up. No, it was something called Ghostwriter, designed to generate first draft sparks, as they call it. So short dialogue lines or ambient speech for NPCs. They're saying Ghostwriter doesn't replace writers. Instead, it automates repetitive, high-volume tasks so writers can focus on more important narrative content, which I think is kind of what you said earlier. But, yeah, I'm sure it's
that's murky.
Going to stay at that.
The description's proper murky.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing that just until we can edge you slightly further towards the exit.
Oh, we've found that they can actually do a little bit more involved speech and scripts. Look at that.
We were going to pay you for 75% of that work. Well, we've managed to get it down to 10.
Do you know what it'll be? Is when there's an AI CEO module, that's when AI will go. It's no, we don't
want that shit. Yeah. So, my job, no.
In 2024, or by 2024, they began experimenting with more ambitious generative AI NPCs. Their Projekt NEO NPC explored using Gen AI to allow more open-ended NPC conversation instead of pre-written dialogue trees. In 2025, they unveiled Teammates. It's the first playable generative AI experiment. And in this prototype, you accompany AI-driven companions in a shooter-style environment. The NPCs respond to voice commands, adapt dynamically, and display individual personalities. So, yeah.
I've had that one, but that's only because I haven't got any friends.
Yeah, you got me. In Teammates, the NPC's physical appearance was hand-authored by artists. AI was used mainly for behaviour, voice, and dynamic response. So narrative designers still craft character backstories, personalities.
But they stuck that in there.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. Someone drew the character. What about the voices? Oh, don't worry about the voices. You don't need to worry about them.
10-cent Games launched VVs. I don't know. VISVISE. VIS. I'm saying a lot of V's. Cut that out,
So
please.
you say that.
An AI-powered creation suite aiming to automate significant parts of 3D character skinning, animation, generation, and other pipeline processes. And basically, a study here reckons that 87% of video game developers now use AI agents to streamline or support dev tasks, so text, voice, code, audio, video processing, which is a lot.
Mm. Yeah, vibe coding is becoming a big thing now, which is essentially, speech to code, which is you tell it what you want it to do and it just does it. And I was reading an article on one of the tech sites the other day where they created a Thumb Wars video game, mobile game, just by vibe coding, just by basically saying to it, this is what I want it to be. I think Google came out on top. I spoke about Google being Luke's head, and Google came out on top in terms of interpreting what the person wanted and being able to build that arena-based thumb combat. I mean, it looks shit. I'll be honest, because I had the images of it. But the fact that you can just go, I want to do this, and it just goes, here you go. And you're like, can you change that to that? Yeah, here you go. And it just goes where and does it. Is a bit scary, right?
Yeah. I mean, now what I want to do is throw a few things at you, as in how and why AI.
Okay, not physically.
No.
Well, I'm glad you don't live in the same house.
No. But how and why AI is used in video game creation. So this is either how it currently is or could be. And for us to say, do we think it's a valid or use, or again, we obviously with caveats.
You fucking just get me in trouble now. Go on.
So you've got procedural content generation. So it's AI helps create game content automatically or semi-automatically. For example, dynamic maps, roguelikes, terrain creation, item quest creation, and narrative generation. The argument for it is saves designers time and increases replayability.
I think that's probably one of the most complex ones, right? Because you have an artist's vision, and somebody wants to create something and be meticulous about what they're creating. There are enough game examples out there of people who've done that. We've probably mentioned a bunch from in this episode alone. So I think it's very dependent. I don't think it should be forced on someone who's creating a game, developer, creator, artist, whatever. I think it should be down to personal choices to, does that tool help me do the thing I needed to do better? And therefore I'm not taking anyone's job away by doing it. Because I think the fear around this stuff is that this is where the dictate comes, and the people who hold the purse strings are going, no, you got to do that faster or with fewer staff, and therefore it has to be introduced. So I think that's the sticky argument, that one. You started with the toughie, Dan. Yeah.
What about, we've mentioned it historically, but intelligent NPC behaviors. Do we foresee a problem? I'm
fine with, look, at the end of the day, NPCs are coded. NPC behaviors are coded. Not talking about their voices, not talking about their characteristics. I'm talking about the coding of what, that behavior of what they do. You think about someone in Oblivion, a guard walking around spotting you're nicking something and then taking you to jail. That's all coded behavior. So the use of AI to make that or enhance that experience for the good of the player, again, while not taking anyone's job away, because actually the character has to have been created already, and can that developer spend more time enhancing the world for the player, from the player's perspective, it's probably not a bad thing. But again, all this stuff comes with a caveat that this is on the premise that it's not taking pennies out of people's pockets.
Yeah, I've had a look through the list, and we've spoken about quite a lot of them. So I'm only going to say one more of this bit. The title is Audio and Voice. Now, before we jump into it and think, no, because we've said voice acting shouldn't be touched. What they've listed here is that AI can and does improve the creation of procedural sound effects like footsteps, winds, general sound effects, adaptive music that reacts to gameplay. Now, I'm not going to entertain the next one, like, so AI-driven voice acting for placeholder lines or indie budget dialogue, because we've said ultimately voice acting should be voice acting. But how do you feel about the first two? I mean, that sounds fairly like it could be a good use of it, right? if it's just
It
using
sounds
sound
fairly
effects.
innocuous, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I think aren't they called? Is it Foley artists who do all the sound effects and stuff?
Yeah, but they could still do that. They could still do that, but AI.
You're talking about
interprets-
enhancements to that rather than small tweaks and things like that. But that again is that's where I talk about that toolbox that you have that you can use to kind of go, well, actually, I use this as a toolbox. When I do our editing, I let AI go away and mix my sampling for me because it does a far better job than a noddy like me could do. And it uses examples from across a broad spectrum of people who've done all of this shit before. Freebie users, not freebie users, people who use the same software. And it takes those and it goes, this is what the best mix for YouTube would be. Right? And that for me is an asset. It's a tool that I use. I would never, and I'll be really clear about this, pay someone to do that for me, right? Because we have a less than 100 subscribers on YouTube type thing, right? When it comes to Blue Sky, if we ever made it big and, had this whole fucking media channel thing like Linus Tech Tips or whoever, I would pay someone to do that. I would rather pay someone to do that because they'll do a better job of it than the AI did. Right. And to be honest, I haven't got the time to learn and can't be asked to learn about how audio mixing works. So I think if it's used as a tool to tweak the things you've got because it's quicker, better, simpler for the individual and they're comfortable doing it and you're not taking it away from anyone else, sure. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I just know these sound creators, these Foley guys, they're meticulous. You've seen these videos of people doing, we recorded 400 different gunshots from different weapons to get that thing in that, and I think it's brilliant the way they do that shit.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, so they would still do that and they would still do that, but it's then often sometimes the implementation of that, which isn't their issue, might be a bit faulty. So obviously, like AI could potentially adapt to what you're doing to utilize the correct sounds more often or dynamically.
I think people misinterpret what's happened because you can see the chain of events where the Foley artist goes, well, I used AI to tweak that, and they just say the wrong thing in the wrong board meeting. Yeah. And they go, well, they used AI to create that. Why are we paying this guy? Well, we'll just get rid of him and then we'll just use the AI to do it. Yeah. And that's what's happening across vast swaths of industry at the moment.
But I think, in my head though, what I'm saying is, no, they're doing it manually as they always do. Yeah. But then the implementation of it into the game is enhanced by AI. So it's,
but that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Other people will misinterpret what's said and go, "Oh, AI did it, so I don't need someone."
And my head keeps going to what you said. Is the thing is, once you start doing this, then it just evolves into we'll make the sound effects because we can.
Exactly that. I've got a library of them. I don't need someone anymore.
Well, look, there was some other stuff, but I think I might leave it there. Future predictions of AI in gaming is that player responsive NPCs become standard. We've said that AI-assisted art pipelines become the norm. Full AI Copilot integration into Unity and Unreal. ML-driven game system replace hard coding. Massive procedural worlds with designer control. AI companion characters arrive in major games. So think companions that respond to voiced or typed dialogue, understand the environment, etc. Narrative design becomes hybrid. AI-driven play testing dominates QA. Smaller teams, bigger games.
Don't need bigger games, Dan.
Yeah, they're big enough.
They're too big.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of what I had to say. And like I said, I know some of the points may have been a bit clunky, but we're not AI. You and I aren't. Allegedly.
Mate, that could mean we are AI if it's clunky. We could have hallucinated this whole thing.
Yeah. So look, is there anything else around AI that we potentially haven't mentioned, or?
I don't think so. Well, yes is the simple answer.
Well, yeah, there probably will be.
Tons, but for an hour and 3/4, 2 hour episode, whatever it is, I think we've tried to cover as much as possible in the broad strokes. And look, this is Gaming View. So if you've got a different opinion, view, perspective on these things, please do stick it in the comments, have a conversation with us, because we do love that interaction. As long as you're not a bot, that'd be weird. Or maybe if you are an AI bot, come and have a chat.
Let us know you're a bot.
Yeah. They do that. Put it in parentheses.
Yeah.
Answered as bot.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think we've probably said as much as we can for one episode, but I'm sure there's a shitload more content in this. Yeah.
There's going to be a lot more news articles, I think, over coming weeks. I mean, like I said, I just think this space is fascinating because I'll go back to what I said, that I've not known, other than working practices like the dreaded crunch that was a thing, quite a big thing many years ago. I've not seen anything that has kind of galvanized both experts and the public into being so anti it. And again, I'm not saying that's a wrong thing.
Do you know what, though? You've just homogenized two really good points without knowing it, right? So the whole crunch thing, there's an argument to say, could some of that been solved / alleviated with tools that were led by AI as a component to take away some of the donkey work to make sure that the people who were involved in releasing that product could do as good a job as possible?
Yeah, potentially.
Question mark.
People would say, no, just give realistic release dates.
All day long, right?
Yeah.
But even a realistic release date, GTA 6, can disappear, right? do you know what? So, even these things that people go, yeah, no, it's definitely happening. It doesn't fucking happen. No surprise. Gets pushed back another 2 years or whatever. And developers still under pressure to deliver it. Because I think sometimes that becomes an excuse. Well, we've had to delay the game, but we don't want to put crunch on people. Yeah. And you're like, no, we know you don't, because you were just dicks when you did. But actually, is there something that can be done to assist, and I do mean assist or help those people to do that job? At the end of the day, this shit isn't going anywhere, right? And as a technologist in my life outside of what I do, I am a huge proponent of AI for use in the right cases. And I was sounding really negative and down about it. I do think there is a very good use case, and I do think it is almost the next step in our evolution in terms of what we do. And in terms of, I likened it to the Industrial Revolution. If it comes to fruition, I do think there is a place, as long as it doesn't become Skynet, in which case we're all screwed, there is a place for it. But it has to be a harmonizing place where we work in conjunction, or it works in conjunction to support the things we're doing so we can be freed up to do the things we love. Yeah. That's where we need to get to.
I think you've summed it up perfectly. There. I just, I mean, look at the news headlines that we said specifically with the AI. And, it's layoffs, it's rising costs because of chipsets, etc., or memory. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting space. And like I said, it's here. It's not going to go away now. It's just how's it going to iterate? And however it does, we'll talk about it here. So
we will.
Yeah.
Gaming views.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say, Dan, before we go?
No, just standard housekeeping. Please do like and subscribe. Hopefully we've earned that. I know we have to, and we're always keen to get your feedback on how we can improve. So please do that as well. Yeah, it's been a pleasure as always, Mr. P.
Indeed, likewise. And I guess stay tuned for another episode of Gaming Views next week.
Melons.